Hello and welcome to the video. This is a quick tip that was actually suggested by a Patreon of mine, a Patreon by the name of Eric. Now, Eric was talking about the tips and tricks on where you can position your GPS and compass. This just happens to be a compass only unit. How do I know that? Well, it only has 4 wires coming out of it. So there's a power and ground, a receive and transmit. If there was a compass in here as well, there'd be 2 extra wires, so 6 in total. Positioning the compass and GPS unit, if it had both, is not an easy thing to do if you have lots of other electronics like flight controllers and stuff inside the model. So this is a tip for all of you that do things with compasses and GPSs, maybe you're adhere pilot, or you're flying things like iNav, where you need a GPS and compass to be mounted in a way that both work perfectly. Now the GPS is upset by lots of different things. It works on a very small amount of frequencies. About the 1.2, 1.3 gigahertz is roughly where it's working. Now, although a lot of things like flight controllers won't be creating anything near that kind of frequency, things like HD cameras absolutely do. So those HD cameras can, if things like the GPS is too close, but also things like your walk snail or DJI or even HD0 systems can, if they are producing harmonics in the same frequency that the GPS is using, cause the GPS not to lock up. So let's look at a couple of examples on the table. The first one we'll look at then is the He-Wing F01. This is a smashing little wing, this. I really like it. I actually put a flight controller in this, and it's also got the DJI system in the nose. And there is the compass. Now this is running iNav, so actually it's just a GPS unit. It hasn't got the GPS and compass. But what I've done is I physically located it as far away as I possibly can from the DJI system and the camera that's at the front. So any interference that comes from this is going to be far enough away. I reckon about 6 inches is absolutely fine. You can get away with less if you use a little bit of shielding, but as there's no shielding here, that GPS is going to work absolutely fine. So the big tip with this is make sure that the GPS is far enough away from all the other electronics. I wouldn't put the GPS like on top of the flight stack, for example. Here at the back is probably going to be a bit dodgy because we have a ESC right underneath that potentially could be creating electromagnetic interference for it. And occasionally, like I said, if there are frequencies being generated inside the other electronics that are the same frequencies that the GPS uses, it's going to stop the GPS from getting a lock. So if you're ever building something and you can't get your GPS to get a lock, but you can see that the signals are coming in, unhook your HD system and see if that makes a difference. If it does, that's probably the issue, and you probably need to move your compass a little bit further away. I tend to put compasses out in places like the wing, although if I'm helping design stuff, I try and make sure that there's a pocket for the GPS that's well away from all the electronics that's inside. However, what about if you're flying with something like adhere pilot? Well, adhere pilot really likes a compass, and so does iNav if you're flying in anything but very low wind. How do you find where on a wing is a safe place to put the compass? Because actually, inside a wing like this, there are lots and lots of magnets. There are magnets to close the hatch. There are also magnets inside the motor. There's also, believe it or not, magnets inside the servos in the wing. And the way that I do this is I use this trick. Get yourself an orienteering compass, something like this, the kind of thing that you get, everyone has these, eBay, Amazon, lots of different places, your local kind of outdoor store. They're not expensive, but they are incredibly useful when you are doing this stuff. Now at the moment it's pointing towards north. North is kind of here on the screen, and what you'll notice is that as I move it around, can you see it's being interfered with quite badly? There are magnets in the front of the model that are causing that to swing quite drastically. Similarly, if I move it away again, it'll kind of settle down and point north. If I put it over, move it in here, if I put it over things like the motor, you can see the motor magnets are pulling it out. So having it too near both of those wouldn't be good. So the other thing is there's also magnets to run the little motor that's part of the servo. So again, pointing to the north, as I move it over the servo, you can actually see it deflect. See that? You can see the needle, hopefully you're picking that up. When it's close enough, you can see the needles being deflected. So the way that I use this is that what I'll do is I'll place it roughly where I think it needs to be, and I'll move it around, and you'll see that there'll be places where it'll deflect, and there'll be places where it is nice and safe, and then I will pick one of those. So let's make sure we're kind of more or less there. I will pick the place where there isn't any magnetic interference, and I will position it there. So say, for example, we wanted to put something like iNav with a compass or Ardu pilot in something like this new AR Wing Pro. Where would be a good place for that? Well, we can use the same compass to find that out. What we can do is we can just hold it up well out of the way of all the magnetic fields, get a rough idea of where north is. And as I move it around, you can absolutely see that there are magnets. And we have magnets here. So there are magnets there. We don't want to go anywhere near those. Similarly, there are things in the wing that's going to move it. So we need to stay away from the servos. We need to stay away from those magnets. So realistically, one of the safest places is actually going to be here in the leading edge of the wing. That looks pretty safe, moving it around. Moving it to other places, we start to get quite big movements in the compass. So I would probably say that somewhere like there would be a safe bet. So that is where I would cut and insert the GPS compass module in a similar way to I've done it here. But hopefully that's useful for those of you that are looking at how you place your compass and GPS unit. Thank you to Eric for the idea. That's how I do it. I mount the GPS compass unit far enough away from all the electronics to avoid any interference that would stop the GPS from locking. But then I also use the trick using the compass to find where on the model hasn't got lots of magnetic fields. Thank you for watching the video. If you watch my videos and find them useful, then please take a moment to hit the like and subscribe button. It helps the channel a lot. If you really like what I'm doing here, you can become a Patreon and support the time I spend helping others and get access to lots of exclusive benefits. Link is in the video description. Remember that all the videos on the channel are organized into playlists, so you can easily use those playlists to find all the videos on a subject that you are interested in. Add Painless 360 to your searches on Google and YouTube, and it'll help you find my content for any particular topic. Thanks again for watching, and as always, happy flying.